Hey there, thanks for stopping in. Ron's Bass Lessons back again. Another requested bass lesson. This is Jane by Jefferson Starship, and very cool, man. What a cool bass line. I'm really grateful to this song being requested, and I'd like to send a thank you to everybody who's requested bass lessons and purchased custom lessons and stuff. I really appreciate it because it keeps me sharp and it helps me to check out some new music that I probably wouldn't have looked at otherwise. So, yeah, this is really cool. It's in the key of E. Intro's really easy. It starts with the keyboard or whatever's going on 2 times, and then you come in just pedaling on E. And I like to do the octave with it. I like to build up from just the open E string to the 2. To get a little more crescendo. So you do that a couple times, and then you do the main riff for the song, which is how it begins. It's during the verse, and it's how it ends. And they go on, excuse me, on the outro playing this riff. So real straightforward, this part. Open E to G on the 3rd, and then D on the 5th, and A on the 5th, 2 times each. So just cop the feel. There's definitely, if you play along with the record, there's 100 chances every time you play it to cop the feel on that riff. And let me just mention now, at the end, at the outro, they do a modified version of that riff 4 times, and then they go back into doing that riff for the rest of the song. So the modified version is 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and they do that 4 times. So it's the open E to the G, but then it's twice on the A to the G. You avoid the D on that one. They just do that 4 times. It's after the bridge at the end when they do the outro. So one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you'll hear the cracks on the cracks on the snare. So however you want to count it, there's 4 cracks on the snare after you hit the G before you hit the A. So that's the 2 easiest parts of the song. Where it gets interesting is during the, I don't know, I guess it's a pre-chorus. It's the second half of the verses. It's after the main verse thing. What's interesting about it is that the bass player is, he's stating the chord changes mostly, but he's doing it like with inversions. He's not doing it straight with just like the bass riff. So I looked up, like, people have said they've transcribed the chords on this song, and so I have on my transcriptions, I have it numbered riff 1, 2, and 3. So riff 1 is that main verse riff, and riff 2 is this one. This is during the, like, sort of the, I don't know, I guess the pre-chorus or the second half of the verse. It goes from E to D to G to F sharp, basically. Now, according to the chord transcriptions, I think it says it goes from E, D, G to A, but that may be what's happening on the guitars, but the bass is basically chromatically working its way back to the main verse again by going from G to F sharp. So it sounds like this. Okay, so you can hear how it's working down. It's like if I just play the root notes, because then you want to get back to E, which is where you're going. You're going back to that. So to me that makes total sense, even though he's not playing the notes of the chords. So here's what's interesting. I mean, he's playing the octave of the E chord, so totally staying the E chord on the first one. So just your open E string, and on the 7th fret, your E note on the, and then so then he's playing the D root note, but he's working his way down toward the G, so he plays D, B on the 7th, and then the open E. So okay, and you wouldn't normally think to play that when you're just thinking straight chords and chord notes, but it just sounds great, and I think it's just great, terrific example of creative rock bass playing. So and then the G is the straight G chord. He's actually even spelling out the notes of the chord, the root, the fifth, and the octave on the third and fifth frets. Okay, so now we're up to, and then this is just really interesting, is the F sharp to D to F sharp, which really is more of a D chord because it's the root and the third, but it's also the chromatic leading back to E. So it's just cool, man. I mean, I don't know if this bass player is still alive or not, honestly, but if he is, good job if you ever see this video. So, sorry. Okay. So it does that twice. All right, it does the whole thing 3 times, but it does that particular version of it twice, and then it does what I call riff 2A, which is, it starts out the same, but then it climbs its way back up to the 5 chord of the key, which is B. And this is another cool thing they do, this really long chromatic turnaround. It's like, wow, like, good job. So the third time, it starts out the same, and then it moves up chromatically toward B. Sorry, I played the wrong rhythm on it. It's the right notes with the wrong rhythm. So, and then, okay. So you're climbing up from G sharp, A sharp to B, and you're doing it by hitting root, fifth, root. After you hit that G, after you do the same riff you just did. So once again, slow the whole thing. Just great, man. So that's the whole riff to get you through the whole verse. So you have the main riff, you have the intro, you have the outro riff that I already showed you at the end, the unique outro riff, and the only thing left is the bridge, which is right before the outro. So the bridge there's basically 3 parts to the bridge, and the third part is just another climb back up to the B, similar to the climb you just did, but not with all the extra notes, just root notes. So the bridge itself, I have to get the rhythm in my head, so pardon me if I take a second to do that. Okay, so here we go. It starts on the C sharp on the 4th fret. So it basically does the same thing twice. I have it split up as 3 different riffs. So the first part of this thing is riff 1, part 1 and part 2, and then part 1 and part 2 again. So that's what I just played. I didn't play part 3 yet. So it looks like this. It's twice on the C sharp, and then you're going to hit the E. So you're on 4 and 7 on the A string, and then you're on 4 and 6 on the next string down on the D string, and so the notes you're playing is F sharp to G sharp. So the first 4 notes, first 5 notes. Okay, that's the rhythm. Dot 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 dot. Okay, and then so you play that every time on those parts. What changes is what you do after that. So the part 1 sounds like, actually you do that every time too. You do the stutter step on that F sharp. So let's review. That's the same on both parts. So bum bum Okay, that's your rhythm. They're going to have this tabbed out to help you out. So, and then you go. That's part one. It's 6, 4, and then you got to come up here and reach for this B. So a good strong pinky is a big help on this song, or a very small scale neck. So the whole part one sounds like. Sorry, I just hit the wrong note at the top. I meant the B. And you see the way that B feels like it wants to lead you right back into that C sharp. Just incredible harmonic sense on this song. Okay, so, and then the second part is, again, it's the same thing up till that one spot. And the way they get back is he goes down a string, and he fits 3 notes into the place of 2 to get back to that B. So instead of just going, okay, so it's on the bottom string, 6, 4, and on the next string up, 6, and then that B again. So so you hit the B on both parts too. The only difference here is you're hitting the high notes versus the low. So part one's slow. I just hit the E again. I'm so sorry. Let me do that again. And now part two. All right. So I'm going to play the whole thing, and then at the end, the part 3 is just a build-up of F sharp, G, A sharp, B. And it just holds on while they screaming out the last note, and then to stop, and then it does the outro, which I already showed you. 2, 3, 4. That's what precedes that, okay? So let me play the whole bridge part slow in its entirety. So I think you get the idea on that, and you have all the rest of the parts. So as always, I have the cover also up, me playing through the entire song all at once, and the tab is shown on the video on the cover version. And as always, if you email me, I'll be happy to send you my my scanned in picture of my tab. So very cool, and thank you again for the request to my man who made it. Just in case you're not familiar with how my site works, I am more than happy to answer questions and send out existing tabs, whatever I have. I think all my videos are already up. If you request a brand new song and I have to learn it and tab it and and make videos and everything, it all takes time. So I charge a very modest fee on that. PayPal's the preferred way to pay, although I guess you can mail me a check or whatever. But just because it does take a lot of time to do that, but I'm more than happy to do it because it's very exciting. So thanks again. Thanks for all the likes. Thanks for the subscriptions. Spread the word, and I'll see you next time.